Hi everyone, Jonas Kane here with Hashtag Positivity, and welcome to On a Positive Note. As humans, we are biologically wired to focus on what's wrong with the world before we even recognize what's right, which is why this podcast takes a different approach by sharing positive news stories from around the world to encourage listeners to see how they can apply these positive ideas to improve their lives, their families, and their communities. And so, on a positive note, let's start with a joke about the jazz pianist's new arrangement of the jazz standard Misty. This new arrangement would start in E-flat in a nice slow swing, but in the bridge it switches to the key of F. Then coming out of the bridge, it changes rhythm to a bossa nova while modulating to the key of F sharp. But then, after the piano solo, it changes again to G with a faster swing tempo before dropping down to the key of D for the final verse. After explaining all of these new changes to the jazz singer, the singer looked at him stupefied and said, "I don't know if I can remember all that." To which the pianist replied, "Why not? You did it last night." Even though this is just a joke, it does point to the truth. General George Patton once said, "Successful generals make plans to fit circumstances, but do not try to create circumstances to fit plans." Sometimes we find ourselves in situations where we have to make the best of it, regardless of the cards that we've been dealt. We can choose to listen to cringing dissonance, or we can take stock of our circumstances and with awareness make calculated changes to sing in harmony with one another, making the best of a challenging situation. And on that note, it brings us to today's positive news story about a cellist who embraces this idea with positivity. One day, the musician developed ringing in one ear, and her manager was concerned that it might become overwhelming and prevent her from making music any longer. But when asked about it, she simply shook her head and said, "It doesn't bother me at all. The ringing sound is in the key of B flat, so I use it to tune my cello a half step lower." This musician is able to take a situation that's outside of her control and work with it instead of against it. Instead of framing it as a problem, she uses it as an opportunity to improve her playing. It's like having a built-in pitchfork right inside her head. I'm often asked how it is that I'm able to stay so positive when the world has so much to be negative about. And to be clear, I haven't always been this way. I've had my share of disappointments, heartbreaks, and tragedies. I've battled grief, depression, addiction, and even thoughts of suicide, but I worked through it. Even though there were times that I wanted to give up, I pushed through. And by not giving up, I discovered ways to put the worst of times into perspective, to make the bad days not turn into bad weeks, and make the good times linger just a little bit longer. And one of my favorite secrets for staying positive is to give my hands something to do that engages my mind and my heart, and which can also bring joy to others. This one positivity hack has changed my life in profound ways, giving me opportunities that I never would have dreamed of. And 2 months ago, I started learning a new skill, playing what I believe to be the happiest of all the instruments, the ukulele. Its sound is fun. Its look is fun. Even its name is fun. And for the past 2 months, this has brought me much joy. And I'm encouraged by the positive news stories we hear coming in from Italy, where quarantined residents are singing from their balconies and rooftops, joining together in song, reminding us that as separate and isolated as we may sometimes feel, we are all truly united by our humanity. One citizen pointed out that they are not maestros by any means, but they called it a moment of joy in this moment of anxiety. It's a positive reminder that we are waves of the same sea, leaves from the same tree, flowers from the same garden. And though we may have different mountains and rivers, we still share the same sun, same moon, and the same sky. Are you responding to the challenges facing our world with dissonance or with harmony? How might you use your current circumstances as a built-in pitchfork right inside your head? What can you do that engages your mind and your heart, which can also bring joy to others? I hope that you've enjoyed today's episode, and I encourage you to leave a positive rating and subscribe to the podcast, as that's truly the best way to let others know about this positive resource. If you have any comments or stories that you'd like to share with our listeners, you can send an email to me directly at jonas@#positivity.com, and that email is also listed in the description of today's podcast. Until next time, my name is Jonas Kane, and this has been another episode of On a Positive Note.
Yes, there was silence. Yes, there was no people here. Yes, I walked through the streets of Dublin and no one was near. Yes, I don't know you. No, I didn't think I didn't care. You live so very far away from just across the square. And I can't reach, but I can reach. You can't touch, but you can see. Across rooftops, sing down the phone, sing and promise me you won't stop. Sing your love be known. Oh, let your love be known. Yes, there is isolation. You and me, we're still here. Yes, when we open our eyes, we will stare down the fear. And maybe I said the wrong thing. Yes, I made you smile. I guess the longest distance is always the last mile. And I can't reach, but I can reach. You can't touch, but you can see. Across rooftops, sing to me down the phone, sing and promise me you won't stop. Sing you're never alone. And again, sing is an act of resistance. Sing though your heart is overthrown. Sing when you sing there is no distance. So let your